And we're live.
Yay!
Woo.
Good
How's
morning, everybody.
All right.
David, are you joining us from the beautiful Southern California, or what part of the world you are in now?
No, I am in Paris, France. I am here at Devox, France. So yes, happy to
Oh,
be here.
sweet.
Completely out of my element. 9 hours got lagged from different time difference from my hometown in California. So I am very tired.
Are you done with your talk, or are you gonna go give the talk today?
No, I'm done. So I finished giving the talk roughly about like an hour ago. So I am done, and was recorded. So hopefully there'll be a recording shortly. So it was pretty cool. Like roughly about like 400 people in the room. I got like one of the larger rooms. So yeah, it's recorded, and a lot of people come in and asking questions afterwards. Did like 6 live demos. So yeah, it'll be pretty cool. And when the recording hits.
Awesome. So you
Nice.
right. So you're in that incubation period right now. Like right after the talk, you're in that nirvana zone of like the talk is done. I feel good. The monkey's off my back at the
Yes,
conference. Now I can
definitely.
actually
And
enjoy the rest
right
of
after this, I am going to get something to eat because I'm starving.
it.
Like
Awesome.
I can personally, feel like for the KubeCon London, I had 3 talks in a single day, and I was like,
Oh,
once I done with all the talks on the first day, I will be enjoying the conference. Like till then, you are like, I'm preparing for the talks and everything. But yeah,
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
true.
But yeah, so this is what? How many days is this conference?
It's only 3 days, so it started yesterday. Tomorrow's
Okay.
the last day.
Okay.
There was supposed to be a train strike here in Paris, a rail strike.
Oh,
It looks like it's still running to me, so hopefully I'll get back home okay.
Okay. Cool. So it's a 3 day conference, and you're like you were fit like in the middle of that
Yep,
conference.
yep,
The
right in
worst
the
the
middle.
worst I feel is that if it's like a 4 day or a 5 day conference, and your talk is on the last day,
last day.
it's
yeah.
like you're like prepping through it. You're like, oh, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Let me tweak it. Let me tweak it more. And it's taking your brain space. And
Yeah.
Oh
then
yeah.
like this used to happen to me at reInvent all the time. Like my talk would invariably be on a Friday. Like who's coming to a conference on Friday?
Yeah. That happened to me a
But
lot too.
anyway, well, welcome everybody for people who may be joining us for the first time. Welcome to Cloud Chats. This is a casual stream that we do once a week, every Thursday at 11 Eastern, where someone from the developer advocacy's crew, and sometimes we have guests, but mostly from the developer advocacy crew, we just get together and we talk about things that have happened through the week and things that have excited us, things that are just interesting. And sometimes there's a live demo. Um, and last week was especially like a busy week for all of us because I was out of office. But there was a lot of travel. I think David, you were traveling. Yash was traveling, obviously. But I'm excited that we're all back together. And we have a few things that have happened. We were just chatting about this before we started the streams. Like we say there's a lot happen, but it seems like every week there's a lot happening in the world of compute and AI and ML and everything related to that. But it's so interesting that everything essentially is converging with leading to AI. Like there's something related to AI in pretty much everything that we will be bringing up today. Seems to be the theme. Um, anyway, to kick it off, should we? So I have so we start this off with like a hello world section of sorts typically, and I have an interesting hello world that's also a news item sort of thing, which is the IDE that I have been trying out. And we've talked about this a couple of times, but I'm leaning more and more towards Cursor with chat built into it as my IDE of choice over VS Code. But I've also tried Windsurf a little bit, and I'm curious where you guys stand in that balance of like, I don't want chat GPT or AI to take over my code completely, but I also want to move fast. Like it's always interesting to me what that workflow looks like for different people. And then the related news item to that, we can talk about that also, is that apparently there's a rumor that OpenAI is considering buying Windsurf, or the company behind Windsurf, which is Codium. So with that, I'll open the floor to you guys. What's your workflow looking like right now, and what do you think of this announcement? Or not even announcement, it's a rumor.
Yeah, okay. So I've been a user of Cursor from long, so something. I mean, I knew about this Windsurf and a couple of other tools. Even the GitHub Copilot is something which I have used very less, honestly. So I probably am not a good person to ask for a comparison. I would always say, okay, just use Cursor. But now with this probable rumor, I would be actually interested to use the Windsurf as to how good it is, and probably is that any better with respect to Cursor. So something which definitely opens up when you to experiment it. But along with that, I just saw another announcement called Codex CLI. Probably you guys have heard from OpenAI. So that also, but that is for probably like proper terminal users, probably like you, Amit. So yeah, for now I would say I'm using just Cursor, and but I'm open to experiment with Windsurf. Yeah.
So I just pulled up Codex CLI. I heard of the news yesterday that they were open sourcing this, I think, right?
Yeah, it is correct.
So is this similar to what Claude Code is from Anthropic?
I just tried just for a few minutes. It's very simple installation with npx, and it does give you two ways of interaction. One, codex. It just gives you interactive, terminal. Then you can ask any questions, ask to explain the code base. Then it's pretty similar to the Claude, and then. Yeah, I think I did not play around so much to really compare these two to find out the differences, but initial feeling looks like it is very similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it looks really similar.
right.
Yeah.
Like I wonder at some point if we will also get some sort of standardization around these tools so people can build on top of this, right? Um,
Correct.
so I'm
Yeah.
gonna just ask ChatGPT. Is that similar to Claude Code? Okay. That sounds like they obviously preempted that question. It's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
similar, but not quite. Okay, yeah. I mean, it seems like something I would like to try out. But I haven't yet gotten to the point that I'm using like AI inside the terminal. But for people who live in the terminal, like I'm guessing like DevOps people, this would be interesting. Warp is another terminal that does that, obviously built in with AI built in. So this is interesting that there's more ways to integrate into the terminal itself. David, what's your flow?
Yeah, I mean, I started to use I forgot what tool it was. Man, my brain is just super jet lagged. But when using it is actually was cool, except for I've found that it like the code changes can be a lot.
Right.
And it's kind of a little too much for me in certain situations. So maybe I just need to get used to it. But I did experiment with I forgot what one it was. But yeah, it's definitely too much for me, and so I'm kind of still right now stuck in this Visual Studio Code or Copilot thing right now. Although I think it's going to change, and I need to definitely give like especially this thing a crack at it. You know, like the codex, which I think could be very cool and very interesting to do. Maybe like rapid prototyping, and to maybe like get like a skeleton of code out there. It'll be interesting to see like if it can generate like skeletal code, and then I can go and like change it and morph it to something that I can use. I think that's how this, for me at least, how it could be very useful.
Yeah. So I was live streaming yesterday, and I wanted to play around with DigitalOcean's Python official Python SDK, Pydo, and what I ended up doing is that I opened up Cursor. I wanted it access, like I asked a few questions and it was hallucinating initially. So like, okay, I'm going to give it exactly the repo. So you know how in Cursor you can specify the docs. So I gave it the URL, and even then it was just not doing it right. So I ended up downloading, eventually after the live stream, I ended up downloading the repo and including that as part of the directory itself. And then I said, just ingest this properly, like carefully go through this, and then tell me how to do a specific thing. And then it was able to do better, I would say better. But again, it was giving me the code that I found that I was manually copying the bits that I wanted, and not just like, for example, but it goes back to if you don't know what you're doing, it becomes difficult. Like vibe coding is cool for building something quickly, but it can go out of hand very, 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 very quickly. Like a very simple example is that it gave me the code with the try and catch sort of built into it. I didn't ask for it. It's a good coding practice. But when I start building on top of it, it just started introducing new things that I was like, I don't know why you did that. It was perfectly fine the way it was for the thing that I have in mind next I want to do. It doesn't know what the next thing I'm trying to do. So it's just building. It's very definitely living in the moment sort of code, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I wish there was like a way I could just dial back like the intensity of it.
Version.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder. I've tried giving it prompts like programmers that I look up to for the coding principles and all of that. Like for example, giving it the clean code sort of mindset with Uncle Bob, I think.
Yeah.
So it does a decent job, but still, it just starts doing its own thing after a while.
True.
Cool. All right. So with that, we have a few things we want to talk about. Nasi, you had some. We already talked a little bit about Codex CLI, but you had one more thing on your list of GPT-4.1. What's up with that?
Yeah, I mean that was kind of a highlight. I thought it's better to include as part of the chat because 4.1 GPT 4.1 OpenAI announced, which has like three models. They came up with 4.1, 4.1 mini, and 4.1 nano. So this is the first time nano model is released, which is like the smallest, one of the smallest models, and like the fastest and cheapest model. So yeah, it was like very interesting. Also because it is available only as APIs. So it is not. It is available only for developers. You can just use it as APIs. And another very interesting thing, if you go through the blog that is mentioned, is that many of these the coding and instructions and in these benchmarks actually this surpasses even the GPT 4.0 models. So that means that via APIs, the ones that we are using the ChatGPT 4.0, that means we are able to even get better results than what we are actually getting in the UI. That means that it is actually really great in terms of people who are already using it as developers. So yeah, and another important thing is each one of the models provide 1 million context window. So that is huge, and that means a lot when you're actually using it as an API. So yeah, so a few of these things are like probably I thought are really important ones to know. Three models, nano model for the first time, and all of them has 1 million context window. Nano model is really good for the low latency one, and then most of these are actually outperforming the 4.0 models, which is actually very very good in terms of using as a developer. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks super interesting. So
Yeah.
you said this is just for the API. So if you go to ChatGPT, are these models available there or not quite yet?
It is
No,
available.
they're not in ChatGPT like as
Correct.
like one
It
of the
is.
ones you can select.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's only API.
Oh,
It
got
is
it.
available in the playground. You can just actually try it out, which
Yeah,
internally calls an API itself. Yeah.
Got it. Got it.
yeah, yeah. The playground, yeah, it's like the developer workflow kind of thing, but not like ChatGPT, the
The
chatting,
UI where you can just
the
ask.
UI.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct. Correct. And another important thing was what I noticed is that they have tried to really make sure that how we, when we discussed last time, David, that when you have, when you give like really large context window, then it's very easy to lose out on giving the focus to the content which is present. Let's say I could just put, let's say even 1 million tokens, it is difficult to find probably one of the tiniest thing. So I just read that they have tried hard to make sure that you can find some of the even tiniest something which is hidden somewhere in the whole 1 million tokens. It is easy to find. So I have to really try that, how good that it was. So looks like the newest models which are coming up they are trying to make sure that although they are giving the large context window, the length, they are still trying to make sure that you can easily find something that is in the whole documents or large documents that you are uploading. It is easier to find something that is somewhere present, and the model is doing a good job.
yeah, yeah. And then on the heels of this too, I think I saw a news article or something where Copilot, they've integrated the 4.1 into Copilot, so it's taking advantage of the programmatic API access, and supposedly better. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but I'm sure if it is integrated, that it'll probably give a whole lot better context from the context window, and better results for getting coding help.
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm looking at Copilot. So is that similar to Cursor's chat thing, or is it more autocomplete sort of thing that Copilot is giving you?
It's kind of weirdly both. It's kind of, I mean, it's definitely, in my opinion, it's the integration is a kind of like a little bit wonky. If you're using Visual Studio Code, you kind of like can like right click and say, hey, pull up a chat thing, like a chat window where you can like explain your problem, or you can say, hey, I need you to fix this, or please code this out. I need you to do a for loop or whatever it is, and it'll go ahead and do it. So it's kind of similar in the fact that
Okay.
you can use it to generate code and like debug and that kind of a thing. But the how Visual Studio Code is, it's kind of a little wonky with all their menus and everything, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's similar kind of thing. Just I think the user experience could maybe use a little bit of help.
Got it. So it looks like it's $20 per month, which is similar pricing to Cursor's Pro model.
Correct. And
Okay.
I
I think
heard
they
last.
also in yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
I, I was just saying, like, they also integrated in GitHub as well. Like, if you raise a PR, you can have GitHub Copilot review your PR, give suggestions. So, sometimes you can just go ahead and
Okay.
ask GitHub Copilot, give it a review if this looks good or not. And I think that GitHub Copilot works with the context of your whole project. So it is able to give good, good suggestions, and they also trained it based on so many data. So yeah, it's on GitHub as well.
Yeah, I would want to play around with this a little bit because it sounds like it's quite similar to Cursor, but yet Cursor is. I've met very few people who said that they're using Copilot. Like almost everybody seems to be either on Cursor or Windsurf. Like comes like a close second. I'm not, and this is like obviously anecdotal to my experience, but I've not met a lot of people who are using Copilot. So I'd be curious why, if they're very similar, why are people moving to Cursor? Because everybody seemed to be on the VS Code train initially.
That
It
is
was
true.
the IDE, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's like I am using the Copilot Pro, and don't laugh when I say this, but I'm only using it because I got it free with the MSDN account that I still have. So I'm not
That's
paying for it; it's
appropriate.
already included, right? So I'm using it basically for free, more or less. But yeah, I think the value could be, if you open up like your GitHub repo, yeah, like Yash is saying, there's like now there's a review there. You can like literally click it, and I haven't tried it, but I need to give it a try. But I'm sure it's probably something similar to, I don't know if you guys heard a project called CodeRabbit. I was actually using that.
Yeah.
CodeRabbit's pretty cool, and I assume, and that's what happens when you assume, right? That it's probably similar to like the Copilot, similar to CodeRabbit, where it will summarize the PR, highlight any defects in code, logic problems, and that kind of a thing. Again, assuming that Copilot will do something very similar.
Something which I heard a lot was that it's the Copilot was still catching up all the time, with respect to because the one example was that the agents was introduced much before, and like probably the agents was introduced in Copilot just a week back or probably a couple of weeks back. So that way, I think Copilot has been in the forefront with new features and all that stuff. That could be the reason as well.
Yeah. So yeah,
I mean,
CodeRabbit's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. I used it at my previous company, and the
Yeah.
reason why we ended up using it was because like I know too many programming languages, like way too many. And there, I was kind of stuck with providing the SDKs in a lot of the languages. And I was the only one on the team or even part of the organization that had any knowledge of like Go and even Python. And so what we ended up doing was we used CodeRabbit as a means of like reviewing my code so that it would summarize what I was doing. It would automatically create like commit suggestions with defects and like provide like high overarching suggestions like, oh, I think you should maybe do this, or this doesn't go to coding standards. And it was free. So it was pretty cool. If you have a public repo, you can attach it to the repo and it will review your PRs. So it was pretty cool.
Is that something as an extension I can add it in the VS Code as well?
It's literally you kind of like go to your repo, or you log into CodeRabbit. If you're the owner for the repo or have special access, you can basically copy and paste the repo link from the CodeRabbit, connect the two, like authorize the application,
Oh,
and it will
okay.
automatically then just start reviewing every PR that's there. And it will do it
Got
for
it.
multiple languages. You can set up rules, so it's actually pretty
Yeah.
cool. That way my teammates who didn't have the knowledge at least understand the high level, like these are the changes that are happening, right? And they don't need to get
Sure.
necessarily into the details of syntax, right?
Correct. Yeah.
We used it in our project as well, but yeah, I agree with David. It was pretty cool. I'm not sure if we use it or not still, but it was pretty cool.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I was looking at the comments on YouTube, and there's one from Shiva. He's saying, well, first off, thank you, Shiva, for joining. If you're still listening, first time on the stream. Codium has been my longest assistant of, and he has like air quotes on assistant of choice within VS Code. The version I'm using now, I think, falls back to GPT 3.5. It's been pretty cool for my projects. Today, I learned that Codium has an extension for VS Code. I didn't know that. Did you guys know that?
I did not.
No.
I need to take a look at that later.
Yes, it's super interesting. So that would make sense. Like maybe it started off as an extension, and they have obviously like forked that into a separate project. Anyway, regardless to say, it's going to be, we'll continue to see IDE innovations, and who knows, like a year from now, this whole thing will look so different. Like we are still, it seems like it's still, you still see a pretty big part of that coding window being taken by the code itself. And it's still like, it seems like a slap-on add-on sort of thing. Like chat is an add-on, but I feel like we are moving towards a area where that will take the prime real estate, and you're essentially chatting with code maybe just being hidden in the back for people who don't want to see the code. Like think like if vibe coding is going to be a thing and more people are going to be coding that way and AI is going to take over most of it, why do I need to see the code? I just need to see what came out of it, right? Now the professionals, the seniors, and all of that will want to see under the hood what's happening, but maybe the default play is, like, what do you want to build today? Sort of like, a big, what are you thinking sort of thing. Anyway, we'll see. But regardless, I feel like this will look very different a year from now, I feel.
Yeah. True.
And if anything, I think it speaks to like OpenAI is like spending like $3 billion, right?
Right.
So if it goes to show anything, they are willing to burn $3 billion because they know that this area is going to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
True.
Definitely. And they'll give it their own spin
Yep.
to what their vision might be. So that makes sense. Okay, so with that, there's a lot of announcements that actually came out from the world of OpenAI. David, you want to maybe lead us through some of the models that got announced, some of the models that will get deprecated pretty soon. What's happening on that side?
Yeah, so I think it was like literally yesterday. OpenAI announced and is available as of today, this morning, that they have O3, which is their super crazy reasoning model. And alongside that, they have O4 mini and then O4 mini high, which they had the O3 mini and O3 mini high. So this is a replacement. I'm guessing it's probably latest data. And but these are basically like the smaller reasoning models. One is lightning quick, and then the other one is not as resource intensive as O3, but still able to do a ton of reasoning in the O4 mini high. So that just hit, and I have yet to play with it, but it looks, from the sounds of it, pretty amazing. I think you're muted there.
Oh, sorry. The inside joke that we obviously have around here is that all the announcements start off with, "This is our best model."
Yeah.
All of them are the smartest and the greatest until they're not. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just losing track at this point. I don't even know which model to use.
Yeah.
can you imagine like if we who sort of are trying to still keep up with it are struggling with which model is what? Like people who are not coding, like I don't know how they're going to keep up with all of this. Like OpenAI will just default to, eventually there has to be an automatic switcher that depending on the question switches real time behind the scenes routing should happen.
And actually, that is the exact intent for GPT-5. So for 5, when they fully unveil it, it will automatically do the switching of the models behind the scenes in order to get you the
Yeah.
best answer. Yep.
Actually, if you see, even in Cursor, before you had an option to choose 4.0, 3.7 Sonnet and all. So now if you see the agent mode and there is auto options, so basically it chooses the model. I'm assuming that based on the task that you are doing, automatically it chooses the model that is best for that particular purpose. But yeah, I think that is the way to go, because I don't think people, even developers themselves, will be happy to keep looking at which models to use, and based on the purpose to choose the best. Better to be abstracted.
Yeah, because that's also like part of the intelligent switching or decision making that you're doing, right? So it
Yeah,
should be intelligent enough. Well, the North Star should be that it should
yeah.
automatically switch without me worrying about which model I'm using right now. Good to know that we are in sync with OpenAI. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the feedback for them, was like, even developers don't know what the heck model you should use half the time. So yeah, so like kind of my rule of thumb is, now that I guess with the introduction of these models, like O4 Mini is, I guess it's, if assuming it's using later data, right? Kind of like more modern, with the cutoff time. So I usually I guess I will be using the O4 Mini for like quick things that don't need like a crap ton of like reasoning. Just get me an answer pretty quickly. I kind of think of it as like more technical, quick answers. Then the mini high for O4 mini high is kind of like, hey, I don't want to spend a little more time, but not a whole ton of time with a very technical coding problem. And then the O3 is basically, I want you to throw everything you have at it, and give it like really break the problem down and get a correct answer on the first shot. And then for your
Mm,
creative stuff, like writing kind of stuff, use
yeah.
4 or 5.
Yeah. Which is what is going to get deprecated soon.
Yeah, so once 5.0 hits, which I think is a few months from now, like I'm maybe all of this is going to go away, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Shiva says saw a lot of posts on Twitter that's trying out algebraic equations, and these models just straight up are hallucinating solutions. Okay, that's interesting. Like if it's hallucinating on the algebra, that's like on even like basic math, that's not acceptable. Is what I want to say.
Yeah.
Like I barely, like I wouldn't call myself like an algebra expert ever, but if I'm asking ChatGPT or an AI about algebra, I expect it to get it right. There's enough of training.
Specifically,
There's enough
yeah,
training. I wouldn't
exactly.
want to gap.
Specifically when it is claimed that it is good at coding and math and
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's OpenAI. DeepSeek. Wow. When did this happen? I completely missed this announcement.
So it hasn't happened. It's just like a pre-announcement.
All right.
Now we've resorted to that.
It's like teaser to the trailer. Announcement of the teaser to the
Awesome.
trailer.
Yes, basically. And I think they did it intentionally. I think they made the pre-announcement, like, I think it was just like one day before the OpenAI, or maybe the same day as the 4.1. So yeah. But yeah, it's basically I guess this is just a pointer to the paper saying like it's coming.
Okay.
Be ready.
Yeah, but I'm sure it'll be, hopefully, right, it'll be better. But more importantly, open source, well, open availability for use, like running locally on-prem or whatever.
Got it. Yeah, this I mean, trying to read this paper is gonna like stress me out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
No.
not meant for,
No.
it's for falling asleep material.
Right. But if that's your thing, if you're interested, I'm gonna post a link here if you want to go do that while you sip on your coffee or whatever your choice beverage is. Okay, and then Google Next 2025 announced some latest TPU, ultra efficient per watt. I'm going to pull up the link while David, you walk through this.
Yeah, so at Google Next, they announced their like next gen TPU, which is their tensor for inference, which can be placed. I'm assuming that is to be placed on their next gen phones. So the Pixel, I'm guessing, and kind of the whole point of it is super ridiculously fast inference per watt, right? So they're doing like kind of right. If you're going to land it on a phone, and you want to be able to inference as fast as you can without burning through the battery on your phone. But what you can also do, and it looks like they talk about in the article, you can like get a whole ton of them together and kind of like link them all up together to act as one unit, kind of a thing, right? Distribute the problem among many of their TPUs. And that's kind of the idea behind this announcement.
Nice.
Got it. So I'm going to ask a noob question to this. So we had CPUs, and then we had GPUs, and now we have TPUs.
So the TPUs are, think of them as just very specialized GPUs, but they're effectively in the GPU class of like chips.
Got it. And what does TPU stand for?
I think it's like tensor processing unit, I think.
Got it.
I think so too.
But it's specifically made for like inference specifically.
So I'm curious, like, what would be the what's a classic use case they give for these?
Yeah, like landing them on a Pixel phone or embedded IoT edge devices where you want to be able to run like inference workloads, but you have power limitations on edge.
Got it.
Because
so
like,
would that mean? So I know I'm probably using a bad example, but if Apple or Android was to do this on their phone, so you're essentially using the AI on the phone. Is that the idea? So instead of sending everything off to the cloud, you can essentially do basic stuff on the device itself.
Yep, and this is just like like it's just their next version of it. So they already have TPUs like on all Pixel phones. They're just the older generation. So this is just the refresh.
Got it.
Got
it. Okay. That is definitely something. I mean, so like, again, this is something that they'll obviously continue iterating on, right?
Yeah, 100%. So this is like, I guess, like the equivalent of this is like NVIDIA's Jetson, like for the little process, the GPU for like IoT edge stuff, like an equivalent-ish, obviously different a little bit, but yeah.
Got it. So this won't be something that developers or like software developers would be using. This is more on the hardware side of things, and I guess you'll be running it on top of that hardware.
I think you can access it if you're going to run models locally. Yeah, on the device. Yeah.
So if you're app developers, mobile app developers, you can tap into it, and your apps can piggyback on that. That makes
Yep.
sense. Okay.
Yep.
I think the Android apps which probably uses like which needs like really good inferencing probably will come in the future in the Pixel phones first.
Right. All right.
So
Moving
yeah.
along.
And I was just gonna
Right.
say
Yeah.
my snarky little joke. It's basically like honestly, it's basically yeah, you can use it to run inference, but I'm sure primarily what it's being used for is to like track your behavior. And I have a Pixel phone, so it's basically to learn everything about you in every aspect, whether you know it or not. I'm sure that's what the primary purpose is.
Yeah, that's true.
There was a time we were all concerned about Google knowing too much. And at this point, like OpenAI, between OpenAI, Claude, Google, like they probably know more, definitely know more than
It's a
I know.
competition, like who knows the best.
Yeah. I definitely I don't know myself that much. I don't think so. Like I think these guys know a lot more, and they can do their own inferences on what kind of person I am. Um, and like we should probably talk about this like in the next episode, but what all of this means for the ad model, like the way everybody traditionally had been making money. You have an agent doing that thing for you in the middle. You are not seeing, well, fine. You sometimes see the sources of your information when you ask the chatbot something, but you're not visiting these agents or these sources. This agent is handling that for you. Um, and I feel like more and more of this will happen through the agentic thing, where you will never see the connection. I feel between the service or the product and the consumer is going to get like removed. And what that means for the ad model would be very interesting. Um, I guess this is where SEO also comes into play. David, you've talked about this like in the past episodes, but that'll be a very interesting thing to watch also, how this evolves.
Yeah, like I mean, if your phone has everything, right? Like your text message history, your email, your browsing history. Yeah, I'm sure that they're going to harvest all of that and then, surface ads to sell you garbage or whatever, right? Yeah, to try to get you to hit the buy button.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, keeping things peppy. So this announcement was very interesting. I've not dived super deep into it. David, if you have, let us know. But I thought this was a very interesting. Like you have a hyper efficient AI model that Microsoft announced that can run on CPUs. Uh, does this mean I can go buy a desktop and I can run this on my machine? Is that what it is?
Yeah, but there's a huge, massive caveat. So just kind of give you the high level. It's they call them like 1-bit, like LLMs kind of. The one that they have there is like on the order of Llama 3.2 1 billion parameter. So these are very tiny, right?
Yeah.
But the point is they're kind of like my understanding is like there's like the dimensionality or whatever is basically like when it's deciding the next token prediction, it's like literally only 3 paths, like 1, 0, and -1. So it's like 3 paths that it can possibly take. And because of that, because you're not doing super orders of dimensionality with trying to figure out transitions to the next token, there's only 3 paths, and it's kind of like it's kind of think about it as like the zero shot, the I'm feeling lucky button, almost pretty close to it. But because you're not doing stuff in parallel, you can use a CPU now. But again, they're very tiny models. Don't expect a whole lot out of them, but you can run them on CPU. And I think there's even some Microsofty library or whatever that's being used or something like that in order to make this happen. But it's still just interesting, trying to figure out how to run these things on normal CPUs.
Yeah, as you were talking through that, it just occurred to me that it would be super cool to actually play around with this, and somehow if we could stream that as we are doing it, like I would love to see like models getting trained on a CPU. Like I think that would be interesting for other people to also go through it, because not everyone's going to be able to do this, even though they come to CPUs. Not everyone has access to the GPUs that we have, for example, on DigitalOcean. Perhaps that could be, David, what do you think? That could be also an interesting stream if we build our own, uh, like create a GPU droplet and actually try to train some LLMs. I know it might take some time, but at least I'd be very curious to see how that happens, what the steps and process looks like for training something.
Yeah, I think it could be cool. It definitely like an exercise and see what the heck happens afterwards. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else in the news department? Because I'm curious to hear all about KubeCon from Yash, who spent an inordinate amount of time traveling and jet lagging and representing DigitalOcean at KubeCon. All right, note takers, Yash, take it away. What happened at KubeCon? Give us the gossip first. Like what is it like to be at KubeCon? And what was your experience at the conference and outside? This was in London, right?
Yeah, it was in London, and what I have heard from the people, like this was one of the biggest event happened here. Like the amount of people joined, like the amount of big conference it was. So many people are saying, okay, this is one of their biggest conference they have joined. And for me, it was like, okay, I joined the third as a KubeCon. People are saying this is my 20th KubeCon for someone. I'm not sure 20 is the right one for someone. Like people are like, I'm just new to the industry. People are like coming from the 10 year or 15-year plus of experience, and they are joining for 10 years the KubeCon, and they are like, "Okay, this one is one of the biggest one." For me, it's like, okay, is this your biggest one? But yeah, it was pretty interesting. When you go there, you can feel the crowd, like 15,000 people at the same place at the same time coming at 8 a.m. and the metros are filled up by, like, you can just say hi to anyone and they will like, okay, I'm going to the KubeCon. Because the amount of the people, like 15,000. But it was great. Like it was pretty exciting, crowded, a lot of parties, those who love to join the parties, a lot of tech and AI stuff also happened. And so many people like from the industry, from the leaders also joined over there. So David is also like, used to be a KubeCon guy. I'm not sure. He usually say that, like, okay, I used to be a KubeCon guy. But yeah. Which one was the last KubeCon you joined, David?
Unfortunately, the last one I did was I think it was the 2020, but it was during the pandemic, so it was remote, which was meh. And then the last live one was 2019. Was Europe 2019 Europe. Yeah. So, but I was doing Kubernetes stuff since 2015, I think. So, yeah.
So was this the first one they had in London, or they've had these before in London?
I'm not sure about that, but I think yep, it was the first time, I guess.
Okay.
David, if you want to confirm.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think you're probably right. And what I heard was that this was the most attended European KubeCon like ever. So
Nice.
All right. Awesome. Hopefully you got some good Indian food in London. There's plenty. So what you said you had 3 talks there, right?
Yeah, I had 3 talks in KubeCon this time.
What were the talks and what was the format? Like they have workshops, I'm guessing. They have talks, short talks, lightning talks. What's the format generally?
Sure. I think I have already shared one talk video, which is published with you all in the chat, which you can, I think, share in the chat as well. I hope I am properly audible because my internet is fluctuating a little bit. But yeah, I had three talks in the KubeCon, and two were the lightning talk, and one were the workshop on the supply chain security. So one was on the Mishri. So Mishri is a cloud native management platform. So if you are aware, like if you are writing some YAML files and a few things, like let's say deploying something in Kubernetes, trying to write YAML file for the pod, trying to write YAML file for the service, you know, then you might be using ChatGPT to make it fast to deploy a simple Nginx thing. What Mishri is trying to do is like they are trying to bring a visual representation of your infrastructure, so you don't need to write any YAML file anymore. You can just use the drag and drop facilities for functionalities and designer infra. So yeah, this was on how Mishri works. So it was a 5 minute lightning talk, and more than 800 people, joined this. Like were sitting in this talk. So when I entered in the room and I saw 800 plus people, I was like, okay, this is my first time giving a talk in front of 800 people. So it was a pretty interesting
That's so
talk.
awesome.
It's
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of that huge an audience, like that is incredible. That reminds me of a talk I gave at I think it was like AWS Summit in Tokyo. But the and this was like in the on the main stage, like 1,000 odd people in the audience. This was the largest talk I had given to an audience. But the really weird, odd, interesting, fascinating thing about that was that um, I had to cope up or I had to adjust my talk for they were all wearing headphones,
oh,
and it was getting translated real time. So I
wow.
I had to like adjust my pace, and I had to wait for the laugh or no laugh, wait for those moments to come, and they were always like a few seconds behind. I I I had practiced it a couple times, but even then I was thrown off with that. But fortunately, I got like there was good amount of conversations after that. But that was like a very interesting way of doing it, given that the translations are happening live. But anyway,
Nice.
Wow.
you
So like
learn.
everyone was wearing headphones. Wow.
Yeah, because
Mm.
and that's it's I've done like these silent headphone sort of things at a couple other conferences, and it's a very jarring experience because you're not getting any feedback. Uh, when people are wearing headphones, they are a bit more conscious that, oh, if I laugh hard, people will hear me. But if everybody is laughing together when there's no headphones, it's a psychological thing. So you're getting no feedback at all, nothing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, we take this for granted, but even with that large an audience, you get like a chuckle here and some appreciation here and there that adds to a lot of confidence. So,
True.
but great work, Yash. Catering to a 800 people audience is definitely a feather on the hat.
Agreed. Yeah.
I'll be honest. Like I was on that day, I was just running because, and some of my talks, like the talk before this, I had one talk on the supply chain security, and the difference between this talk was only 15 minutes. So I have to, once I done with the previous talk in the supply chain security, I have to pack my bag, I have to run. And the conference venue is big enough that like project lightning talk is happening at the end of the conference venue, where like my other talk is happening on the other end. So I have to, run for the 10 minutes because the venue is so big that
Right.
people see me why I'm running. So but it was pretty interesting day. It was
Yeah,
like luckily all the talks were on the first day. So
Nice.
awesome, great. Were there any other DigitalOcean people there?
yeah, so many. Like I was not expecting that these many people will be coming from the digital ocean. Like before my talk on the supply chain security, there was a talk from one person, Farah. I think she's from digital ocean, and she had a talk on AI model or something. I wasn't able to attend it, but it was also a great talk. So, and there was one more person, Sriram, who also had a talk. He is from our product team. So there was a lot of people from product side of our DigitalOcean who also had a talk. So it was pretty interesting to see so many people over there.
That's awesome. And Kubernetes is obviously a very huge part of what DigitalOcean does. It's a beloved product, and DigitalOcean, I believe, has been involved for a while with the KubeCon community. So it's amazing that we are able to contribute to that community also. Okay, we have a few things that I want to bring up is that we have, in addition to the cloud chats that we do every week, David also runs office hours, which I'm not sure if David will be able to run those tomorrow, but David is also a superhuman, so I'll let him speak to that. But normally he runs office hours on Discord channel every week, where well, David, I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, I think I should be able to do it tomorrow, which is normally at 9 a.m. Pacific. But I guess I will be doing it still at 9 a.m. Pacific, but from Paris. So that'll still happen tomorrow.
Awesome.
So, like, what time it will be in the Paris for you?
Let's see. That's a great question. I am not sure. It will be actually right about now. It'll be 6 or 7 p.m. In Paris here.
Kind of manageable.
Yeah, so hopefully you can see the screen here. This is our Discord server.
Yeah.
So community office hours is what David is talking about right now. That'll be at 12 p.m. Eastern, I think, is what this means.
Yep.
And in addition to that, we also have, this is relatively new thing that we started doing. We're calling it DO It Live, like do it live, get it? And the idea here is that's a casual live stream of me and somebody else joining me, or one of us just opening up our VS Code or Cursor or Windsurf, or in David's case, just hand coding, because he because he knows so many languages. But basically, the idea is to get on the stream with not a lot of thought process into how you will do a specific thing, but really getting on stream and trying to build something that we would have built regardless if we were not on stream, and embarrass ourselves because we will obviously fail because we're really doing this live. But hopefully, there will be some educational moments as we do this, because we're all learning so much as we do this. So do join us for office hours if you have any questions. David's going to host that tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back at Cloud Chats next week at 11 Eastern. And if you would be interested in seeing a live stream of us building and breaking things and falling through the floor, humbling ourselves, please do join us for Do It Live, which will be Wednesday at 11 Eastern. But this was fun, guys. I'm happy that I was back after a two-week break, hiatus of sorts. I was out last week, which was, fun fact, it started off as a PTO, or it was meant to be a PTO, and half of that turned into a sick leave, which was like, the regular flu catching up with the family. All of us took turns, the wife, the daughter, all of us. But it's good to be back, and we look forward to doing another one. Any parting thoughts, guys, before we get off?
Yeah, first of all, welcome Amit, welcome back, and we are very happy you're feeling better. From my side, I'll say, yeah, my KubeCon experience was pretty great, and if someone is looking to join the KubeCon, do join. KubeCon China is coming. I have a talk in the KubeCon China as well. Hopefully, I had last year as well, so I was in the Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a pretty amazing city to explore, so I'll be there in June as well. So love to connect with you if you are coming.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Yash and David. Enjoy Paris. Get a walk along the river, Eiffel Tower, whatever your thing is. Get on the tour bus.
For sure.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys, and thank you all for joining us. We will see you next week at another episode of Cloud Chats.
Cool. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, folks.